And while lately we've been talking a lot about drones and UAPs and mysteries in the sky in New Jersey,
in 2024, the world was rocked by a revelation that shook even the most skeptical minds. UFOs captured on camera in broad daylight, hovering above some of the most populated cities on Earth. From Moscow to New York and all the way to Beijing, strange crafts have appeared in the skies, leaving witnesses in shock and prompting governments to finally come clean about the reality of alien technology. But the real question remains: what is their purpose? And why are they suddenly making their presence known? UFOs over Moscow, the first major sighting. In the year 2024, Moscow became the epicenter of an event that would shake the world's perception of reality. It began like any ordinary day in the bustling Russian capital, where the sun shone brightly over Red Square. A place of cultural and political significance, surrounded by the imposing silhouette of the Kremlin and the grand St. Basil's Cathedral. The city was alive with its usual hustle, with tourists snapping pictures and locals going about their daily routines. But amidst this ordinary scene, something extraordinary occurred, something that no one could explain. A massive, gleaming object appeared in the sky, hovering motionlessly over the heart of Moscow. The UFO was described as a large, disc-shaped craft, its surface shimmering in the daylight in a way that seemed to defy the laws of nature. Witnesses reported that the craft appeared to be made of an unknown material, one that reflected the sunlight with an almost unnatural intensity, casting an eerie glow across the surrounding area. The sheer size and brightness of the object were unlike anything seen before, and for many, it was hard to believe their eyes. How could such an object remain suspended in the sky without any visible means of support or propulsion? And why wasn't it making any noise? As the UFO lingered above the city for hours, it remained perfectly still, not drifting or moving in any direction. This was unlike anything that could be attributed to conventional aircraft or known military technology. Military aircraft, drones, or even natural phenomena like weather balloons simply didn't behave in such a manner. Yet there it was, hovering silently in the sky, its sheer presence creating an air of tension and mystery. The idea of alien visitation seemed to be the only possible explanation that made sense to many, but the Russian government wasn't prepared to entertain such thoughts, at least, not publicly. Initially, the Russian authorities dismissed the sighting with typical bureaucracy, labeling the object as either a weather phenomenon, a strange atmospheric occurrence, or, more commonly, a misidentified aircraft. The government-controlled media played along with this narrative, attempting to downplay the significance of the event. They suggested that the people who had filmed the UFO were either mistaken or deliberately trying to cause a stir. They labeled the sightings as nothing more than an illusion or a hoax, a common response when strange phenomena are caught on film in a country with a history of tightly controlled information. However, as the hours turned into days, and as more and more videos surfaced from ordinary citizens, including those caught on smartphones and other personal devices, it became clear that the government could no longer ignore the situation. The UFO sightings weren't isolated incidents. They weren't just one strange object caught in the sky over Red Square. They were happening across the city. People from different neighborhoods reported seeing the same craft, and in some cases, multiple objects. The UFOs didn't just hover above the city. They moved in ways that defied all known principles of aerodynamics, darting across the sky at impossible speeds before suddenly stopping in mid-air or changing direction with no apparent force acting upon them. The global reaction was swift. Experts, both from within Russia and abroad, began analyzing the footage, offering their interpretations. Many were quick to speculate that the object might be part of some advanced military technology, possibly belonging to a nation that had developed a new form of aircraft or spacecraft. But even the most cutting-edge technologies known to mankind could not explain the sheer maneuverability and speed exhibited by these objects. The lack of noise, the smooth gliding motion, and the ability to remain suspended in one spot for hours, these were characteristics that seemed to transcend current human capabilities. Some even suggested that these objects might be extraterrestrial in origin, pointing to the impossibility of creating such advanced technology with the current level of understanding in human science and engineering. The Russian military, in an unprecedented move, was forced to address the situation. Senior officials from the Ministry of Defense came forward with a startling admission. They had no explanation for the UFO sightings. Despite tracking the object for hours, despite the full range of military surveillance systems at their disposal, they were unable to identify the craft or explain its behavior. This marked a significant departure from Russia's typical response to such phenomena, where any talk of UFOs was quickly dismissed and any attempts to discuss the matter were silenced. This was the moment that changed everything. The world's understanding of UFOs was no longer limited to the fringe theories of conspiracy theorists or sci-fi enthusiasts. It was no longer just a topic of late-night discussions or obscure blogs. The Russian government, a powerful global player, had publicly acknowledged that something was in their skies, something that they could not explain. For the first time, the reality of UFOs was acknowledged by a major world power. This was a pivotal moment, signaling that the global community could no longer ignore the presence of UFOs. It was becoming increasingly clear that these objects were not mere fabrications or misunderstandings, but legitimate mysteries that were happening in real time, right before the eyes of millions of people. What made the Moscow UFO sighting even more significant was the way it was covered by the media. No longer could governments control the flow of information or dictate what the public believed. With the proliferation of social media and smartphones, the people of the world had become the primary sources of information, and the evidence was undeniable. Videos of the UFO were shared globally, analyzed by experts, and scrutinized by the public. The transparency and ease of access to information meant that people were no longer dependent on government narratives. They could see the evidence for themselves. The public's trust in official explanations started to erode, as it became evident that the authorities were no longer in control of the narrative. But what does this mean for the future? Could this UFO sighting be a precursor to more incredible revelations about what's flying in our skies? UFOs in the United States, the triangular object that stunned the nation. Just a few weeks after the shocking UFO sighting in Moscow, a similar phenomenon began to unfold across the Atlantic, this time in the United States. As news of the Moscow UFO sighting spread, it seemed to spark an unprecedented wave of UFO sightings around the world, with the United States being no exception. The most dramatic event took place in one of the world's most iconic cities, New York. In the heart of Manhattan, amidst the towering skyscrapers and the frenetic energy of the city, a large, triangular-shaped object was spotted in the sky. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. This mysterious craft appeared to be suspended in the air above the skyline, hovering without any visible means of propulsion. Its edges were sharp, defined, and angular, with a glowing, faint light emanating from its body. What made this sighting particularly confounding was its sheer size. The object was far larger than any conventional aircraft, and it defied every known principle of aviation. It didn't make a sound, nor did it seem to require any form of traditional propulsion. There were no engines, no visible thrusters, and certainly no exhaust. For nearly 20 minutes, the UFO floated silently above the city, its presence fully visible to thousands of New Yorkers and tourists, all of whom were either caught in awe or paralyzed by disbelief. This event was even more perplexing due to the behavior of the craft. Unlike conventional aircraft, which must maintain a certain level of speed to stay aloft, this object remained perfectly stationary in the sky. Despite the absence of any obvious propulsion system, it maintained its position above the city, unaffected by the winds or other atmospheric conditions. The eerie silence was another key feature of the sighting. There was no sound of engines or propellers, not even the usual hum of an aircraft hovering, just complete, unnatural silence. The footage captured during this event quickly went viral. Thousands of smartphones recorded the strange occurrence from different angles and vantage points across the city. The UFO was visible for over 20 minutes, long enough for a substantial number of people to capture it on video. What made the incident even more baffling was the way it was handled by experts in the hours that followed. Early speculations pointed to the possibility that the craft might be an advanced military vehicle, potentially a classified US project or a foreign nation's cutting-edge aircraft. But there was one glaring problem with this hypothesis. No known military aircraft could remain stationary in the sky for such a prolonged period without falling, especially without any visible means of propulsion. Traditional aircraft or drones, while capable of hovering, would have had to rely on engines, rotors, or other mechanical components, yet none of these were visible in the footage. The debate over the object's identity grew quickly, and as experts from around the world weighed in, their theories ranged from the plausible to the extraordinary. Some insisted that the object could be a secret military craft, perhaps the latest in stealth technology, though even the most advanced military vehicles, including hypersonic jets, could not perform the maneuvers or sustain the stillness exhibited by this UFO. Others began speculating more widely, suggesting that this could be a visit from extraterrestrial beings. As rumors swirled, it became evident that the UFO was not some ordinary, easily explainable object. It was a phenomenon that had no clear answer. Within hours, news outlets around the world began covering the incident, giving it the international attention it deserved. For the first time in modern history, the United States government, typically known for its secrecy and reluctance to discuss UFOs, was forced to acknowledge the sighting. The Pentagon, which had long dismissed UFO reports as hoaxes or misidentified objects, issued a public statement confirming that the UFO had been tracked by radar for more than 30 minutes before it disappeared without a trace. This was no longer a mere sighting. It had become a global mystery, with officials from the highest levels of government admitting that they could not explain what had been seen in the skies above New York City. The admission by the US government that they could not identify the object sent shockwaves through both the public and the scientific community. The government's sudden transparency marked a significant departure from the decades of silence and denials regarding UFO sightings. For the first time, the American public and the world were faced with the reality that UFOs, objects that had long been dismissed as myth or fantasy, were real, and the United States government had no explanation for them. This acknowledgement opened the door to a wide range of possibilities. Was this a military secret being tested above one of the busiest cities on the planet, or was it something far more profound, evidence of extraterrestrial life? And if these UFOs were indeed aliens, why had they chosen now, in the middle of such a tense and politically charged period, to make their presence known to the public? Could the American sightings be a coincidence? Or is there a larger, coordinated event happening right now? Could the answers lie in a larger pattern of sightings occurring across the globe? China's UFO enigma, government denial, and public outcry. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, China became the latest country to experience a series of strange UFO sightings. Over several weeks, reports poured in from across the nation, shapes and lights in the sky that could not be explained by weather or man-made technology. The most significant event occurred over the Forbidden City in Beijing, where witnesses saw a massive, glowing object floating above the ancient palace. The sight was so extraordinary that it prompted an immediate government response. Initially, the Chinese government denied any knowledge of the object. Their Ministry of Defense quickly issued a statement claiming that the lights were simply atmospheric phenomena or the result of military exercises. However, the images captured on social media told a different story. The UFO appeared to be a sleek, metallic object with sharp edges and a glowing, pulsating core. As the sightings continued, the Chinese government was forced to acknowledge that something unusual was indeed happening in their skies. However, they continued to insist that it was a military test or a natural phenomenon that had yet to be fully understood. In private, however, officials admitted that they were tracking these unidentified objects using military satellites, but their data was inconclusive. For the first time, China's leadership found themselves caught between maintaining their usual control over information and admitting that they had no answers. With China now on the map of UFO sightings, could the involvement of multiple global superpowers suggest a greater mystery at play? The shocking truth about UFOs. As UFO sightings continued to pour in from around the world, it became clear that these objects were not just random occurrences or the result of human error. Governments, who had long remained silent on the topic, were now forced to confront the reality of the situation. Leaked documents, declassified reports, and whistleblower testimonies all pointed to a startling truth. World governments had been aware of UFOs for decades, but they had kept the information classified, fearing public panic. The US government, which had long dismissed UFO sightings as military tests or natural phenomena, now found themselves in a position where they could no longer deny the existence of the objects. In a highly publicized statement, the Pentagon confirmed that they had been tracking UFOs for years and had even recovered materials that could not be explained by any known technology. These materials, they admitted, were unlike anything the US had ever seen before. The Pentagon's statement sent shockwaves through the global community. If the UFOs were indeed extraterrestrial in origin, what did that mean for humanity? Were we being watched by an alien civilization, or was this technology from a future time? And why had governments around the world kept this information hidden for so long? If governments had known about UFOs for years, why are they suddenly coming forward with the truth? What is the significance of these revelations, and what will happen next? What are they trying to tell us? As the UFO sightings became more frequent, the most popular theory began to take hold. These UFOs were not of human origin, they were extraterrestrial craft, possibly from distant planets or even other galaxies. The evidence seemed to point toward this conclusion. The object's ability to defy known laws of physics, their incredible speed, and the strange phenomena surrounding them all suggested technology that was far beyond anything humanity could imagine. Some experts, however, were more cautious in their conclusions. They pointed out that the sightings could be the result of advanced human technology, either from secret military programs or from nations that had developed new forms of propulsion that were kept hidden from the public. But even these experts were forced to admit that the technology behind the UFOs was beyond anything currently known to science. The question that lingered in the minds of many was this: if these UFOs were extraterrestrial, what were they trying to tell us? Were they observing us, preparing for contact, or sending a warning? The sheer scale of the phenomenon seemed to suggest that these visitors were trying to communicate with humanity, but the message remained unclear. As these UFOs continue to appear across the globe, what is their true purpose? Are they here to help humanity, or do they have a more sinister agenda? The global wave of UFO sightings. As the year progressed, UFO sightings continued to escalate worldwide. What began as isolated incidents over Moscow, New York, and Beijing soon became a global phenomenon. The UFOs were not confined to any one region, and the sightings were not limited to just major cities. Smaller towns and rural areas also began to report strange, inexplicable objects in the sky, all of which appeared to follow similar patterns. Some objects were seen hovering for hours before disappearing without a trace, while others were witnessed performing seemingly impossible maneuvers, such as instantaneously changing direction or accelerating at speeds that defied physics. What was even more unsettling was the fact that these objects seemed to be appearing in places with high geopolitical significance. In countries where tensions were already high, such as near military installations or conflict zones, these UFOs were showing up at precisely the wrong time. This only deepened the mystery. Were these sightings merely random, or was there a purpose behind them? Reports from independent researchers and scientists suggested that these UFOs might be investigating areas of military and political importance. Were they surveying strategic locations, or were they gathering intelligence on the power dynamics of Earth's superpowers? Some experts speculated that the UFOs were engaged in reconnaissance, closely monitoring the global power struggle unfolding on the planet's surface. Others believed they might be testing human reactions, seeing how governments and civilians would respond to their presence. The most startling aspect of these sightings was that they were not just isolated events. The same type of objects were being seen in different countries with no prior coordination between the witnesses. This was the beginning of a disturbing pattern, one that couldn't be explained by chance or coincidence. Could these UFOs be part of a larger global strategy? Are they trying to understand our world before making contact? Or is there a more sinister motive behind their surveillance, the military's reaction? As the sightings continued to increase, the world's military powers began to take notice. Initially, the response from military officials was consistent with the standard approach. They attempted to dismiss the sightings as misidentified objects or optical illusions. But with more and more footage circulating online, from high-definition videos to grainy footage captured on personal cell phones, it became increasingly difficult to deny the reality of the situation. Military experts, however, were quick to offer their own interpretations of the phenomena. Some claimed that these UFOs were nothing more than highly advanced military aircraft, secret projects developed by countries with cutting-edge aerospace technologies. Others, particularly those in the intelligence community, suggested that the UFOs could be the result of extraterrestrial interference, with alien ships potentially monitoring human activity. A more troubling theory, however, began to emerge from within military circles. What if these UFOs were not of alien origin, but were the result of covert human technology? Were some of the world's most powerful countries developing weapons and technologies that far outstripped anything available to the public? If that were the case, these objects would not only pose a significant military threat to global security, but also represent a major breach of secrecy and trust between governments and their citizens. The idea that governments were testing such powerful technologies without disclosing them to the public raised serious questions. Why had these secret projects remained hidden for so long? And more importantly, what were they capable of? Could the UFOs be part of a broader military agenda, one that involved not just surveillance, but active preparation for some kind of global confrontation or conflict? If these UFOs are human-made, what does that say about the technology our governments are hiding from us? And if they are extraterrestrial, what is their true purpose in monitoring our planet? The technology behind the UFOs. The one thing that nearly all witnesses agreed on was that these UFOs exhibited technology far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. The object's ability to hover silently, their seamless propulsion systems, and their capacity to travel at extreme speeds were all characteristics that seemed impossible given current scientific understanding. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence came from scientists who analyzed the footage of the UFOs. Experts in aerospace engineering, physics, and material science noted that the technology displayed by these crafts appeared to violate many of the basic principles of aerodynamics. For example, the objects were often seen making sharp turns at impossible speeds, something that would cause a human pilot to experience extreme G-forces. Yet, these UFOs showed no signs of slowing down, indicating that the technology behind them could manipulate forces beyond human comprehension. Additionally, the materials used to build these crafts remained a mystery. Some scientists speculated that the objects might be constructed from alloys not yet discovered on Earth, which would explain their ability to withstand the extreme stresses of high-speed travel without breaking apart. Others suggested that the UFOs could be utilizing a form of anti-gravity propulsion that was capable of nullifying the effects of gravity, allowing them to move in ways that traditional aircraft never could. While these theories provided some insight into the potential technology behind the UFOs, the reality was that no one could definitely explain how these objects operated. The closest explanation came from scientists who believed that the UFOs might be using technology that was so advanced it appeared to be magic, something that humans could never hope to understand. If this technology is beyond human comprehension, what does that mean for the future? Could it be that these UFOs are not just visiting, they are preparing for something much greater, alien or military? As the months passed, the mystery surrounding the UFOs only deepened. Theories about their origins became increasingly complex, and as more sightings emerged, the public was split on what these craft truly represented. One of the most popular theories was that the UFOs were extraterrestrial in origin. This theory gained traction due to the object's ability to defy the laws of physics and their sudden appearance in major political centers around the world. Many alien enthusiasts pointed to the increase in UFO sightings as proof that Earth was being visited by advanced alien civilizations. According to this theory, these visitors were either preparing for full contact with humanity or were observing us from a distance, perhaps waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Some even suggested that these UFOs might be using Earth as a staging ground, making preparations for an eventual invasion. On the other hand, there were those who believed that the UFOs were a product of secret military operations. According to this theory, the UFOs were advanced human-made craft, the result of decades of research into anti-gravity technology and advanced propulsion systems. These theories were further fueled by the government's silence on the matter, which many people interpreted as an indication that they were hiding the truth from the public. But what if both theories were true? Could the UFOs be both human and alien in nature, with different factions, whether military or extraterrestrial, using the crafts for their own purposes? The more the government and military tried to conceal information, the more the public began to question whether they were being told the truth. Is it possible that the UFOs are both human-made and extraterrestrial? And what does that mean for the future of humanity? A new age of discovery. With the increasing number of UFO sightings and the growing admission from governments around the world, many are beginning to ask, what comes next? As we stand at the precipice of a new era, the question arises, how will humanity respond to the reality of UFOs, and what will the next phase of investigations look like? For years, UFOs have been a topic relegated to conspiracy theories, whispered rumors, and fringe discussions. However, with high-profile incidents and government admissions becoming more frequent, the discussion has shifted from skepticism to a genuine pursuit of truth. Experts from all disciplines, astronomers, physicists, military analysts, and even philosophers, are now coming together to explore the implications of these otherworldly visitors. The potential for scientific breakthroughs is enormous, as the discovery of extraterrestrial technology could propel humanity into an entirely new chapter of technological development. As governments gradually release more information about UFOs, the ripple effect across society is profound. From political leaders to everyday citizens, the acknowledgement that we may not be alone in the universe is shaking the very foundations of how we view ourselves and our place in the cosmos. The cultural impact of UFO disclosure has been immediate and widespread. For decades, many people have believed that the idea of alien life was something for science fiction. But with growing evidence and the acknowledgement by military and government officials that UFOs are real, those perceptions are rapidly changing. Media outlets, books, and documentaries are now exploring the subject with increasing seriousness, and public opinion is shifting. People are no longer dismissing UFOs as fantasy. They're starting to wonder, what if they are real? And what does that mean for us? If UFO technology can truly revolutionize the world, how will humanity handle the responsibility of this knowledge? Are we ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Or are we setting the stage for a new global arms race? Can we handle the truth? One of the most pressing questions surrounding the UFO phenomenon is how the general public will react as more information is made available. For decades, UFOs have been the subject of fascination and fear, with people either completely dismissing the idea of extraterrestrial life or believing in it with fervor. However, with growing evidence and government transparency, the truth is becoming harder to ignore. But the real challenge lies in how humanity as a whole will process and adapt to this new reality. The discovery of UFOs, especially those with technology beyond our comprehension, could have far-reaching consequences for society. From the fear of invasion to the potential for religious and existential upheaval, there are numerous factors to consider in how humanity will respond to these revelations. The potential for fear and panic is significant. Throughout history, humanity has struggled to adjust to paradigm-shifting discoveries. In the past, revelations about the Earth's place in the solar system, the nature of disease, and the mechanics of the universe have all caused widespread anxiety. The discovery of extraterrestrial life and the reality of UFOs could bring about a similar period of societal turmoil. Governments and scientists will need to work closely with the public to ensure that the transition to this new understanding is as smooth as possible. On the other hand, some believe that humanity is ready for the truth. With the rise of global connectivity and scientific literacy, many argue that the world's population is more prepared than ever to accept the reality of UFOs and extraterrestrial life. As humanity becomes more aware of the larger universe and our place within it, the idea of intelligent life beyond Earth might seem less alien and more natural. Ultimately, the way the public reacts to UFO disclosure will play a critical role in shaping the future of human civilization. The questions raised by these revelations about our place in the universe, the nature of life, and the future of our species will challenge us to rethink everything we know about ourselves and our world. Don't forget to check out our other videos to dive even deeper into this ongoing mystery, and leave your thoughts in the comments.